What's up gamers, welcome back to another Asphalt 9 video. Today is the follow-up video to my previous video talking about the Racing Through Fire and Hall of Flames update where I talked about the patch notes, so going over all of the features, events, legend pass, new track, all that sort of stuff. If you missed that video, go ahead and check my channel because this is one of the biggest updates we've ever seen in Asphalt 9, and that's why I'm splitting it up into two videos. So again, that video went over the patch notes themselves, and today we're going to go over all of the new cars, talking about the max stats, showing you guys the decals, talking about it, and also going over some stuff that I missed in that previous video. So before I get into it, be sure to follow me on all the social media shenanigans and join me on Discord. Links to that will be in the description down below. And just want to talk about something that I missed in that previous video, which was the showroom. In that video, I gave it a stab in the dark, just talking about how I thought it was going to be something where you could show off your cars to clubmates or something like that, but I was completely wrong. Thank you to IzKitten for pointing that out in the comments. I definitely appreciate it. And if you guys see anything that I ever miss in a video, be sure to call me out on it in the comments so that I can correct it. So yeah, thank you guys for doing that. I appreciate it. So then, what is the showroom? This was actually talked about in a short article released recently, and the developers talked a bit more about what it was. So I'm going to go ahead and read it for you guys here. So coming next update, the showroom will be unleashed and it will allow you to finally work on completing your garage collection. The showroom will offer you a selection of custom events that reward blueprints of previously released cars as rewards. You can expect the showroom to open its doors at the end of September, and we'll be offering you the full tour closer to release, so stay tuned for more info on the showroom real soon. So this is exactly what everyone has been asking for, reruns of previous events, and this will actually give you a selection of previous events. This sounds very similar to what's going on in Need for Speed No Limits, which is nice because you can basically select any event available to you and just go ahead and complete it. We don't have any more details besides what I've already read to you, but for those of you asking when the Bugatti Chiron is coming back or when X car is coming back, well, now you have your answer. At the end of September, they'll be basically releasing this feature into the game, and I assume then you'll have a selection of different special events or different types of events that you can go back and play that feature some older cars. I'm really excited about this because I think most people have missed some cars over the past couple of years. This might also be a great way for new players to get some old cars that haven't come back quite yet. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the brand new cars. And first up, let's talk about the Jaguar XJR15. Again, this is going to be the Legend Pass car for both seasons, and as you can see from the max stats, it looks like it'll be a pretty mid-range C-class car, with I think the standout feature being mainly the acceleration and handling. Because the top speed is only around 200 miles per hour, I can't imagine this is going to be a top speed focused car, so mainly you'll be relying on agility and acceleration for the, well, good part about this car, I guess. But at least this isn't going to be a super overpowered Legend Pass car, and you can see the decal right here as well. Next up, we have my personal favorite in this update, the Koenigsegg CC850, and just as a reminder, if you didn't watch the previous video, this will be the featured car for the Drive Syndicate 7. So I expect maybe 5 or 6 people in total to be able to unlock this car, so yeah, that's kind of unfortunate, but hey, we'll have to wait and see if the Drive Syndicate 7 is different than previous ones. But either way, let's talk about the car itself because these stats look pretty darn juicy. Now you'll notice that it is rank 5145, which is pretty darn high, and some people are having a discussion about if this is overranked or not, and they're using the SSD Tuatara as a comparison, and that's a pretty good comparison because the top speed is 297 miles per hour. So without nitro, not quite over 300, but with nitro you will be over 300. The acceleration at 82 at max is pretty darn good, nothing crazy like the Rimac Nevera, but what you'll notice is that the handling stat is actually pretty darn good. If I go ahead and look at my Tuatara right now, which is at 5 out of 6 stars, my handling is at 47. And that's one of the only downsides to the Tuatara, in my opinion, is that the handling is a bit subpar compared to the Koenigsegg Jesko. The other thing you'll notice about the CC850 is its abysmal nitro stat. So hopefully the decent acceleration will try to make up for that. But yeah, I can definitely see where people are coming from when they say it's a bit overranked. But either way, this is going to be a beast of an S-Class car, and I think it's going to be in contention for one of the best cars in the game. Next up, we have the McLaren Solus GT. I believe this is going to be a Grand Prix car coming later in the second season, if I'm not mistaken. Again, go ahead and check my previous video if you want more information about the events and where all these cars fit into the update. But this looks like it's a pretty decently ranked B-Class car, not a king or anything like that. I believe this is going to sit right above the Aston Martin Superleggera, somewhere in that range, but you can obviously see the standout feature for that car is the acceleration at 89, which is absolutely mental, but the top speed is only 208, so you'll go flying past your competition at the start of a race, but you'll have to watch out for people in your rear view mirror because they might catch up pretty quickly later on in the race. The handling also looks awesome, and the nutty stats also moves to the nitro. So would this be considered the Vanda of B-Class? I'm not quite sure. This could be a very annoying car in multiplayer, but I'm glad that it is going to be a Grand Prix car, which means it should be fairly easy to unlock for some players. Next up, we have one of the least expected types of cars in this update, the Nissan 370Z Neon Edition. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is one of the first cars that is coming from the Chinese version of Asphalt 9 to the global version of Asphalt 9. Again, I'm not too familiar with that, but that's what I've sort of been hearing about this car. Otherwise, anyway, this car looks amazing. I love the neon accents that they've given it. Hopefully they do some weird effect in game, but unfortunately, if you're expecting some crazy performance because of its looks, you'll be a bit disappointed because this is just a pretty generic D-Class car. In fact, if you take a look at the max rank of 2,675, that's about where cars such as the Jetta G60 are in D-Class. So no king for sure, but you can see that the acceleration at 83 is pretty darn good, along with the handling and nitro stats being pretty good as well. So at least this won't be a terrible car to drive, but it is compensated by a pretty low top speed. Now, this will be the starting car in the next Drive Syndicate, I believe, so most players will be able to at least unlock it, which is awesome. Now we move on to A-Class with the Noble M600 Speedster, and this looks like a very strong contender for a high-end A-Class car. Not sure if it is the rank king of A-Class, I don't believe it is, but it sits well above cars such as the Aperta, because the Aperta is 4,291 and this is 4,464. Now, nothing really stands out too much for this car in terms of stats. Everything just looks pretty good and pretty reasonable compared to the rest of A-Class. For example, the top speed of 233 miles per hour without nitro is pretty standard nowadays for good A-Class cars, so I wouldn't really think this car is going to be crazy on any particular track. The only thing that really makes me think that this car is going to have a special place is the handling, with the handling stat of 85, which seems like that'll be pretty darn good. So maybe for those twisty tracks, this car will be quite useful, but otherwise, I don't think you're looking at something too crazy for top of A-Class. And last but certainly not least, we have the Celine S7 Twin Turbo, and this looks like a pretty decent S-Class car. You'll notice right off the bat that the rank certainly supports the idea that it isn't a king, but I think this has the potential to be a pretty underrated car. The only really bad thing about this car is the abysmal acceleration at 69. Nice. Which, to be honest, is not going to be too much of a problem if you play with this car in Ghost Slipstream, because the top speed of 267 is pretty comparable to cars like the Zenvo and the Fener. So I think this is going to be a pretty sleeper hit within S-Class. I don't think this is going to be a king or be super underrated like the Tryon is, but this is going to be pretty darn good, and anyone who gets this car should be pretty pleased with how it performs. But I wouldn't try to unlock this car thinking it's the next Tuatara replacement, but either way, this is going to be a very solid addition to the mid-range of S-Class. Alright guys, so that covers the new Racing Through Fire and Hall of Flames update. Let me know if I missed anything in the comments, and I'll be sure to make yet another follow-up video. Never actually split up an update video into 2 parts before, so let me know your thoughts about this. I thought including the max stats and the discussion about the cars in the previous video would make it way too long, and I wanted to get the patch notes video out as soon as I could so you guys knew everything you needed to know about the new update. So again, let me know about this format in the comments, but either way, of course, also let me know your thoughts about the new cars as well, because I'm very curious. This all seems like very good additions to the game. Nothing super duper crazy, except for, of course, the lack of people allowed to unlock the CC850. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.